All right.
I don't want to sound like an arrogant jerk here. So how's your game run?
No, it's funny. It's really good. It's really
okay,
good.
Here we go. Last one. Welcome to the Black Type Bugler preview of our Breeders' Bowl Mile. My name is Mike. I've been around the game longer than anybody except Rock 63, believe it or not. And with me are two of my favorite people, two of the favorite people of the entire game. I think they're more well-liked than I am in the game. We have famous from the Black Type Bugler, Spinround, and of course, the spelling challenge, Donnie Beisbol. How are you guys doing today?
We're great.
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good for this early in the week. No complaints.
Fair enough. I like it early in the week. I don't know why. So this is all good for me.
Well, it's good that we can all get together and have the time. And we're really grateful for Mike to come and join us this week.
Well,
I think we're also great. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I appreciate you reaching out to me, but that's a lie. I reached out to you. So, so I do appreciate you having me on. So this is an honor and a privilege. And it's great to get to put some words out there to some of these fine simulated horses we have going.
I mean, we had a lot of people suggest to me and maybe Eliza as well, like, oh, why don't you have some trainers on? Why don't you have some special guests? So I was like, yeah, this may be a trainer you haven't heard of too much, but I think he has some insights on how the game works. So
a little bit. Actually, I think the most amazing thing to me is how much better other people play the game than me. We've had some people obviously around for years and years, and you'd be surprised. I tried for years. I don't get to play as often as I used to. You'll see sporadically where some rotten horse from the E-Test case stable will run in a hot race to test something, or I'll throw one in an allowance. I usually get torched. But even when I was really giving it a go, I had a lot of auction horses I would try to get, a lot of claimers, and I was only getting like 10%, and that's about as good as I could get. So my hat's off to everyone in the game that is notably better than me. And even if you're not notably better than me, it gives you something to aspire to. Even the guy that has been around the second longest has a lot to learn. So thank you for everyone.
Well, why don't we jump right into our preview of the mile? This is, of course, the Turf Mile, the original mile. It's a $3 million race, and that makes it pretty important in the turf route division because there's not a whole lot of $3 million races, and I don't believe there's a $6 million race in the Turf Mile division, or the turf route division even.
Yeah. Oh, so you're a rooter. See, I'm more of a router.
Ah. I wonder if that's the difference between where we're from. Your accent kind of gives, I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, my accent, do I sound like a hillbilly?
No, but we definitely have different ones.
Fair. That's from the hills of Kentucky. So
absolutely. Hey, they birthed this great game, so how bad could they be?
People of the soil like them.
All right, well, we're going to start with the number one qualifier for this race, Monsieur Cadet. He's owned by Cadet, who also has another horse in this race, Urban Cadet. Can you guess that it's Cadet Stables? This horse won the $3 million Sandcastle Feed Duty early this year, which puts him in second place for the end of year standings for this division. A win in this race would probably propel him to the top of the list, and we'll see what happens after that. But he's a really good turf horse. He finished second in the Woody Ford at 9 furlongs earlier this year, and he just won the Grade 2 Remsen Mile with a 120 SP. Now he likes to be on the lead, which is always a problem, but he's a great horse. He's out of a Grade 1 winning dam. He's her first foal, and he's a legitimate chance in this race.
Yeah, you hit the points as yes, number one contender here, but there are a lot of ifs, I think, with him, and he's not going to be unchallenged.
Nope.
Like he was in his recent races. There's nothing really to complain about as far as form goes, but I mean, that last race, the Grade 2, if you look at the field, I think it was a little suspect. There's one grade one winner in there, and the horse who ran second is primarily an allowance horse. No knock on them, but I mean, you're stepping up to the ultimate race in the game. So even though he's number one on the list, I actually don't think he is in the top two as far as likely winners of the race. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, no offense to my man Cadet. I kind of agree. The thing is about this horse is he really hasn't done a lot at 8 furlongs. He seemed to be a 9 furlong kind of guy for a while. Now, don't get me wrong, his win in the Rims, in the Remsen, not bad. Or the Renan, sorry. See, I can't even read. His win in the Renan's, his win in the Renan's pretty good. No complaints there. When you pop a 120, you're legit. So I really don't have anything bad to say about him. But again, he's 5 years old. No, I love to see a horse progressing late like this. But again, just the distance, I don't know where he really wants to run, except he did look good at 8. Maybe it's 8, but maybe it's 8.5, which I know is a funky distance, but he won his only grade 1 at the 8.5, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, that was the Sandcastle.
So it's tough. It's going to be an interesting race with him out on the lead. I know we have a lot of closers. I've been fortunate enough to grab a couple of them in this preview. So good luck to him and good luck to all of them. But yeah, I'm a little to Donnie's point. I'm not sure if he is the best bet in this race.
Fair enough.
So am I
Donnie,
up?
you want to go with our second horse?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard to knock Cadet Robbie the person, but we don't have any trouble knocking his horses. I think that's a fair trade. So go with that. So okay, so my top contender that I'm going to go with next is Good to Be the Dragon. And Good to Be the Dragon, where is he ranked currently? Number 10 in the division. He's coming off a grade 1 win in the Sourball Mile, which I think is a decent prep for this 1 mile championship level race. And he's another one that is basically at the top of his game right now. Trying to get my notes up here, sorry. He's got high end speed. He doesn't have to be on the lead. I think he's tractable. So, whatever pace scenarios come out, I think he will not be jeopardized necessarily by a bunch of horses like battling it out in the front end. I like that he's had a light campaign. He's only raced 5 times in 2021. And that last win was 117 speed figure, and it was by open lengths. I like those open length victories. In my mind, it signifies that maybe there's more in the tank, and that he should be sharp coming off that. Probably the biggest asset for this horse is that he is trained by King Ab. It's good to be the dragon, but it's also good to be the king. And the king this year is number 3 as of last weekend in stakes wins in the entire game, his master stable. And he's got 156 stakes wins, but that's in only 803 starts, which works out to like 19% stakes winning percentage, which is ridiculous. A lot of people would be happy winning 19% of any kind of races.
For sure.
I don't think he has the massive quantity of horses that a lot of us do, but he's 3rd behind Goins and Lenny, so pretty good company there.
One thing I like about him is, as you mentioned, he only has 5 starts this year, but his average speed for those starts is a 115.4. So he's super consistent. He also has 2 grade 1 wins as a 3-year-old. He's a 4-year-old this year. But as a 3-year-old, he had 2 other grade 1 wins, both at a mile. So he's certainly legit.
Yeah, the thing I think Donnie mentioned it about this horse that actually I won't say I disagree with, but I don't think that he wants to be on the lead, but he wants to be right there. And I think that plays well. We're going to have to see how these deep closers, if it's a speed pace, we'll see if he can stay close enough to the lead to give it a late challenge. He's won on the lead, but I think that's been a while back. But he does like to just hang right there in the pocket And there are no complaints, obviously, with the trainer. I think it's well documented that Larry's all right in my book, even though I was giving him the thumbs down earlier. And not only is he all right, he's a great trainer. Oh, I think all of these guys are. At least the ones that I've seen so far, the ones that I'm reviewing, the ones you're reviewing, all of these are excellent trainers. You don't have someone that's coming in kind of as a surprise. So they're going to bring their A game. And this is one of those horses that, again, I'd like to see them not brought along, I don't think, as slowly as Cadet's horse, but also not just burned out. You'll see that a lot where people really just burn them out. And the next thing you know, by the time they're getting to these grade 1 important races, they really spit the bit. But I do think that this horse is one of the better horses. I love that kind of on the pace style that isn't right at the lead. So I'm going to give him a big check mark as one that I do think has a real legit shot here, as well as his consistency.
Yeah, he's fresh. I think he's going to fire. If he's good enough, he'll be right there. And you mentioned like the trainers that are, solid trainers and doing everything right. A lot of people, I'll try to emulate. I'll see like, what did they do? How did they get this horse ready? And with Larry, with King Ab, I feel like it's more, how is he going to beat me again this time? I haven't really figured out his style, but it works, and the results are proof. So,
all right. So are we done with this one? And I'm ready to move on if we are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my horse that I get to not interview first, I don't think that's going to go very well. They don't talk a lot. But the horse that I'm going to talk about here is by what I consider one of the more underrated trainers in the game. I know there's obviously a lot of talk about the Cadets, and I'll be doing a Texas Ace horse later. And this is Stock Swami, who does a pretty good job here. He's rated 17th in the trainer ratings. And he has really, over the last few years, really brought a lot of good horses out. And this Oasis of Sea is another one that I think really has a chance here. Now, more of a closer. We're an Oasis Dream here. But this is out of a mare that's actually produced another grade 1 winner. I think the name was, let me see if I can see the name real quick without being too annoying. The name of the other horse, there we go, is Lady of Bricks. And that's the horse that's actually younger than this horse. So I think he may have another one in the chamber for a couple of years. But the nice thing with this horse is he didn't really run a century figure until the middle of his 3-year-old campaign. And this a slow starter kind of career-wise. But after that, he popped big in the Champagne Mile. And then he really, and that was at 20-1, he won. So I don't think anybody was expecting that. So Champions Mile, Champagne Mile. See, my notes are giving me away. So, but Champions Mile, he won 20-1, turned around after, I think he ran second, or actually may have not run as well, but then turned around and won again in the Maudlin Cup. He's beat some good horses. I know Urban Cadet's in this race. Good to be the Dragon. He's actually beaten him. So I think this horse has a real chance. He comes from off the pace and loves to close, which my favorite horse of all time was a huge closer. He used to come off about 20 some lengths. So at about 1.5 miles. So any of these horses that come deep like that, I've got a nice warm spot in my heart for. So I do love this horse. I think if the pace is fast, if it's kind of speedy up front, I think this horse hits the board. I don't think that's even a question. So that's at least my take on it. What do you guys have?
Well, Stock Swami, as you said, is a great trainer, and he also has Fast at Dawn in this field. So, certainly, 1-2 strong entry. The other thing I like about Oasis on the Sea is he only has 4 starts this year, which is, even fewer than Good to Be the Dragon. And he's only got 14 starts lifetime. So really, he could be any kind of horse. I mean, obviously, he's already a multiple grade 1 winner. But, certainly a Breeders' Gold winner is a distinct possibility.
Yeah, no, this is one, if we're going to do, battle of the prognosticators, this is somebody I had pegged for the exact. I think he's going to be 1-2. You guys have been saying all the nice things about him, and Swami's other qualifier there. Obviously, he's got 2 in there. He obviously knows what he's doing. The only negative you can see in the form is that he kind of ran a clunker 2 back in the Suffolks. but he was just like too far back at the half. And looking a little closer, because he's got that light schedule, there was a 3-month break. He had a 3-month break between races, which tells me, he could have been training up to that race, but I haven't done real well with horses on that long of a break coming back. But then again, he fired immediately after that. So maybe that was part of Swami's plan, is like, I'm just going to keep him lightly raced and then have him ready to win the race I really, really want to win. So kudos to you for doing that. I like Oasis on the Sea a lot.
Yeah, and like you mentioned too, I love his spacing of the races. It shows a lot of patience. Again, I think I'd mentioned a lot of people, especially he won what stamped his ticket here was the second race, the Maudlin, but when he won the Champions Mile, he would probably still be on the outside looking in. And instead of trying to hurry him through and get another grade 1 win, he turned around, ran 3 months later in the Suffolk, and then waited a month and a half to even hit the Maudlin. And the Suffolk is where he kind of threw that clunker. But you love the patience of someone who has the faith in their animal that they are going to ultimately prevail. And it may have helped him that he has another runner. Maybe he didn't feel that angst and kind of the jumpiness to get him in quickly, but it's really paid off for him. So we'll see how this goes for him.
And, he's got that about a month and a half between races again. So he should be sharp and ready.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Absolutely. And again, to the other people that have qualifiers or possible entrants or people who got bumped, please don't be too offended that you didn't get mentioned in this preview, because as you can tell, like we're doing the deep dive. And if we talked about every possible horse that would be in the race, I don't think the Zoom account lets us go for 4.5 hours for a meeting. So, but we'll be happy to discuss them in the tip sheet that's coming out next week. I think, did we decide on like $15 a pop? Is that what we said? I don't remember. I'm not in charge of the financial stuff. But having said that, I think am I up next for the?
No, I've got Justa Wells.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bristol bred training. This horse I find fascinating. He's only run on the turf 7 times. He's never been out of the exacta, but he's only run a mile on turf once. And that was in his last start, the Canada Mile, which he won wire to wire by 2 lengths with a 1:16 speed. He's kind of a wild card to me. Obviously, he's going to be up on that pace with Monsieur Cadet. And, there's a couple of others here. But, 1 for 1 at the distance on the turf with such a good race, it's interesting. And again, never being out of the exacta and 7 starts on turf makes me think he's a pretty consistent runner.
Yeah, he reminds me of Monsieur Cadet in the same way. It might be an 8.5 type of horse, but really hasn't been tested at a mile. So he cuts back to a mile and he wins a big race. If those two run, really well in this race, I'm going to start doing that every single time. I'm going to run all my horses a little bit farther than they want, and then I'm going to cut back, until they win. I don't have any shame in saying I'm copying all of you people who are better than me, but you're not here to hear that. We're here about the horse. The other thing I want to say about this horse really it gets me to want to breed to Justify again, because this guy won on dirt, he won on turf, he won 8 furlongs, he won like 12 furlongs, I believe. It seems like it doesn't matter, Justify. Yeah, he did, or he ran at 12. Did okay at 12. But I mean, it seems like Justify in the game is showing some diversity and definitely a lot of quality. So that's my take.
Yeah, the thing about this Justify horse too is that the nice thing here is that, like you said, he's still getting his turf legs here. And I'm not even sure that he couldn't still be a dirt runner, because he did well on the dirt. And if you look, even his first allowance race on the turf, now admittedly it was 10 versus 12 on the dirt. it was 101. He turned back around on the dirt, ran 105, and then he went on this crazy run on the turf. So it's possible that turf is his game. Not only possible, it looks most likely that turf is his game, but it's also possible that we might have a horse that's gonna be on both surfaces eventually, which is always an interesting one. And Justify probably can do that. Not only that, you have Sadler's Wells and Fabiano. So I mean, we're talking, you get that especially at Northern Dancer line, you can't go wrong with the turf, and pretty much the Mr. Prospector on the dirt. So yeah, I think he's multifaceted. But back to what's at hand, the biggest hurdle for this horse is probably going to be, even more than Monsieur Cadet, is this horse wants to be on the lead, and not only wants to be there, I think he needs to be on the lead. And that, in this race with some good closers, I think is going to be huge. He did run a 118, but again, that's at 8.5 furlongs. So we're going to see 116 is going to finish well in this race, probably, but we never know. Sometimes these races turn out at 109 or 108 to win. So I have no idea. It really depends, but it's possible that he just doesn't have the actual kind of, he may be a slight grade below, but that he may prove me completely wrong and run a 123. I have no idea, because he is improving.
Well, he did run a 122 in an allowance race at 9 furlongs in his first start of the year, which I believe is the highest speed any horse has run this year who's entered in this field. I could be wrong about that. But 122 is pretty high up there.
Yeah, I missed that. But yeah, looking at that, not that concerns me, but his two highest speed figures, and I did run at 8.5. But like you said, he doesn't have a lot of history at 8, so it's hard to tell. And admittedly, that 8 furlong race, he didn't look like he was having any problem. I think they may have, I won't say wrapped him up, but he definitely probably could have run even a little faster. So we'll see. I mean, that is the interesting thing when you start facing competition like he's facing. I know that that Canada Mile, I won't say it was a weak race. That's not what I'm intending, but it was a short race. There was only 8 entries, 2, 4, 6, 7 other entries in an 8-horse field. So he's going to have a full field this time against horses that obviously are going to bring it. So very much a possibility to do very well in this race. But from a betting perspective, I will be a little concerned knowing that there's going to be speed with Monsieur Cadet, knowing that there's going to be some other horses that have proven their merit, especially at this distance, and knowing that the class in this race is going to be as high as he's seen. It concerns me from a betting standpoint, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him hit the board or even win it if the pace dictates that.
I'm going to take a contrarian stance just because you guys are emphasizing the speed figures, and I don't believe in speed figures. I also don't believe in math. So I'm going to go with my gut.
How could you be a baseball fan and not believe in math? You must be a Mariners fan or something.
Yeah, no, it's all made up. We all know it's you sit at your computer every day and decide who's going to win each race. I don't know how you have time for that. It seems like cruel and arbitrary, but
nice. So,
I mean,
Billy Bean would hate you, by the way.
More power to you. I'm a math nerd, so yeah. I have too much numbers floating around, too many numbers floating around in my head most of the time.
Fair enough.
Gotcha. Cool. So now it must be my turn, right?
Yep.
Sure.
I have been chomping at the bit to talk about this horse. I like this horse so much, which means it's probably going to be a jinx. Sorry, beer keg. But I've been following this guy even before he was entered in the race. And that horse is Awesome Giants. There's a lot to like about Awesome Giants. First of all, I want to mention he's by Awesome Again, out of a Giants Causeway mare. And the mare was not exceptionally talented. She made $33,000, well, simulated dollars. In 15 starts, she had 1 win. She was not fast. And this is the first foal. And yet here he is in the Breeders' Bowl Mile. I like that this horse came alive at 4. He didn't really do a whole lot at 3. In fact, he was bouncing around between different beer keg stables, probably trying to jumpstart him, had him on the turf. I don't even think he hit the board until he broke his maiden. I think it was like 5th or 6th start. And then he started liking the dirt. He, was placed in some stakes at a mile. He had a 121 and a grade 3, and kind of steadily improved. And, you know, it looked like he was going to be a dirt miler. But then, you know, he did the thing that we mentioned last preview about inbuilt nitrogen for the Classic. He did the late career surface switch off of a win. So, you know, I'm going to call this the Donnie Dangerous profile. He's got the Donnie Dangerous profile. He won the Leprechaun Mile. It's a grade 2 with a 118 on the dirt. And what does he do? He goes into a grade 3 on the turf and he crushes it, 118, right? So next race after that was another grade 1 win on the turf, a mile. So he has a very, you know, small profile as a turf runner, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He's winning by open lengths. 15 starts for a 4-year-old. I think this is your horse to beat.
Well, you know, what I like is that his last 3 wins, which were all consecutive, he's run 118 speeds. So, you know, he's got that real consistent high number. He comes from just off the pace. And yeah, I mean, he's really crushed it the last 2 starts on the turf. And those were his only 2 starts at a mile on turf. I mean, this horse is one of those horses who's just a one distance runner. He tried the turf earlier in his career going longer distances and it didn't work out, but 8 furlongs this horse loves.
Yeah, and from what you were saying about the change in distance, Don, or change in surface here, is that if you look even way back last year, middle of the year, he switched over to turf and actually improved. Now, the thing is, he went from 9.5 to 9.5. Then they threw him in, Beer Keg threw him in at 12 furlongs, and he just threw in a clunker. He's not meant for that. So he switched back to the dirt, looked good, but I'm not even sure that he may have just been improving. So again, and I think Beer Keg was wise to give him a run on the turf, popping him in a grade 3 this late. Pretty interesting, but it worked for him. And to see that he's won graded races on the dirt, he's won graded races on the turf. Again, you know, I love these kind of horses, so I really do like this. And to your point, Eliza, is that he's running really consistently, but what I like more than that even is just, it seems that he's improving almost every race. Don't get me wrong, he did run a 121 in the grade 3, but I'm not even sure he's had to go to the tank the last couple races on the turf. So it's possible that we haven't seen the best of this horse, and he just keeps improving. It's possible, again, that he may throw a clunker, but I do think that Beer Keg has him primed. I do like the slow, again, the slow methodical pace to this approach. And this way he won't burn him out. And I think this horse, again, barely off the pace, which is probably not my favorite style to watch, but it's my favorite style to bet. I do think this horse has a live chance and is one of the betting, may not be the betting favorite because I know how the betting works. But I will tell you, this is, if you had money and you were betting on this horse, you would definitely bet on this horse, because from a punter's perspective, I think this horse has a real chance.
If anybody wants to book my bet on this horse, DONNYBEISBOL@gmail.com. I have Venmo. I have some other, I have a kid. I don't know how much that's worth. I'm good for it. What I'm saying is I'm good for it. So
Maybe some of those high profile hot racers who bet $50 a race, like Cadet and Given and Lenny, they might.
I hope that really doesn't happen. I didn't.
No. What are you talking about? That's.
I think that's a rumor.
Making that up.
It's a rumor. So I don't think that really happens.
No. That's, you know, we might have to call 911 for Mike, but after that, I do want to ask each of you your perspective or your thoughts about the idea of a bounce in the game. I mean, this horse has run 3 straight 118s. He's won each time with a 118. In your experience, have you had horses that just look like they have run fantastically and then have, you know, no excuse the next time, you know, they run out of the money? I've had trouble getting 2 or 3 consecutive strong efforts at that level with my better horses. But I didn't know if that was just a bounce or like trainer error or incompetence or something like that.
Yeah, it could be either. I think that's the thing, is some horses are going to bounce more than others. There's a consistency factor that some horses have a higher consistency and some don't. You may hit a nice run where you're hitting the upper end, but there also is there's a from the form perspective, they could, depending on if you've kind of changed the distance, etc. If you change the surface, obviously, but yeah, generally speaking, you'll get the best performance out of your horse, finding where he's best at and continuing to run him there. And this looks like, especially with Awesome Giants, that he's doing that. And again, you can, horses can bounce, but in this case, I do think that at least he looks about as consistent as he can here. So
I've had some luck with horses who run back-to-back, same speed, improving off of that. I don't know if I've had one run 3 straight in a row and move up on that, but sometimes when they're running that number consecutively, that can show that you're doing something right, and you do it again and they could bounce up instead of down.
Yeah, I'm definitely if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of trainer. If they show me that they like something, I'm like, I'm going to stick with that until to prove that they don't want to do that anymore. So I think there's a lot of that going on with what Beer Keg figured out. And you got to like that, it's not quite a good horse can come from anywhere, but this horse, was still a maiden in September of last year. And here it is in the Breeders' Bowl. And we're talking about it as, a possible winner. So
right.
that gives hope to trainers like me that are like still fishing for mares in the auction and, buying stallion shares with breeders points and still coming up with grade 1 horses. So exciting stuff.
Exciting. So yeah, I guess I will wrap up this event, and I will not be looking at Sancho Bow, who I almost looked at, but we have decided to change that at the last minute, and that's okay. I will say this about Sancho Bow: he's an Aussie. I had to throw one of my Aussie contingents in there. Deodo's great. He looks like he's probably not running as good as he used to. I'll just put it that way, but he is out of a grade 1 winning mare outside of this horse. So he's not entered yet, but if Deodo wants to put him in, he would give him a chance. Who knows? So I think he hits the numbers as far as being eligible. So Deodo, if you want to put the horse in, prove me wrong, win this race and make me look bad. But one horse I will be talking about that has a pretty good chance of at least hitting the board here is King of Pain. He is a 4-year-old gelding out of King Kamehameha, and he's a scratch bred, which you don't see as often. It's not to say it doesn't happen, but obviously people do enjoy their mares, and they tend to you go back to the same well that was good to you. And this horse I do like. I love the slow burn. He's only raced 15 times as a gelding. And interestingly enough, horse started out in a hot race and didn't win. So usually a horse that's of this caliber, he's usually a world beater out the chute, started out a hot race, lost, and then turns around and runs in a maiden race, finishes 5th, to finally get to the point where he's running something that looks like he could be the kind of horse it turned out to be. He starts running pretty much the targeted races for the region. And he finally won a couple of those. A slow burn, it moves him up to stakes. He's, he won a regular stakes, finished 7th, back to an allowance, finished 2nd, but it was on some off footing there. And then all of a sudden, somewhere around April of this year, he started looking really good. Took him to an allowance, won another targeted race there, put him to grade 2s. And then finally, where he really made his go was in the Suffolks. And I think I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure that Oasis the Dream was in that race. And this horse has a very similar style as Oasis the Dream. He likes to come off the pace. He may actually even come off a little more. And so his numbers are getting, he's not the consistency that we saw with the previous horse, but this horse is running 115 to 117, looks to be improving. Oh, as well as if I didn't mention this, his trainer is, of course, Texas Ace, who he doesn't run as many horses, it doesn't seem anymore, but he has one of the better trainers we've seen, obviously. Horseshoe Bay. Everybody remembers Horseshoe Bay if you've been around the game long enough. With one of those crazy, that's when Horseshoe Bay was running against 2 or 3 other horses that were his equal, and they were just trading grade wins back and forth at 12 furlongs on the turf. And for a trainer to be that consistent, to be able to compete at that level, Texas Ace knows his stuff. So yeah, from a trainer perspective, if he's entered him here, I think he has a chance, and I do like his chances. Though I think Oasis the Dream may be a little bit better off the pace. We'll see, but who knows? We'll see what happens here. So what do you guys think?
So, interestingly, he's been in the exacta 13 times out of 15 races. He's got 6 starts this year, 2 wins, 4 seconds. 3 of those seconds were by less than a length, but his win in the Suffolk was just by a head. He has that late running speed, but he doesn't always seem to get up for the win. And that's my biggest concern with this horse, is that, he just doesn't have that drive to pull it off every time.
Yeah, no, I think he's legit. It's all of your, concerns are valid. Because he doesn't have that topped out speed figure, you wonder, like, is he actually going to get up in time? But if I'm being consistent with my preview, he ran second to Awesome Giants last time. So if Awesome Giants is the monster that I think he is, that means that this horse, by comparison, should be among the contenders. The main thing I see as far as the turnaround in Texas Ace, obviously one of the legendary trainers in the game, is there was something that happened in his form in his career at a certain point, and he's just completely turned things around. And it was the ultimate equipment change, if you know what I mean. He just became like super consistent and hitting the board every time after that. So, I'm not really considering that, from a personal standpoint, but it definitely seems to be an advantage for a lot of the runners in the game. And I do take advantage of that even later in the careers if I see a horse, usually a colt that I do this operation on.
Usually?
Yeah, 100% so far.
Yeah. Well, considering that earlier in this conversation, you were talking about betting your kids, you better not get that operation done, because you won't have any more kids to bet.
Oh man, limited assets. You're right. I'm glad you're here. I need all the guidance I can get.
Yeah, I'm probably a little older than you, a little longer in the tooth, so to speak. So I have plenty of good advice for young bucks such as yourself.
Our pop culture references are the same, so I have a feeling we were born about 3 months apart.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I just want to do one plug. The Black Type Bugler is looking for writers for the Breeders' Bowl previews. We have a call out thread up in the Black Type Bugler forum. We do have extra pay available for all races that weekend, and any help we can get is great. Any extra content, like something like this, whatever you want to write about, we pay for. So we're always happy to have contributors, and especially Breeders' Bowl weekend.
Yeah, and I'll make you a deal. This is breaking news. If you write a review and you pick the right winner, send me your link to the Black Type Bugler article you wrote, and I will give you even more credits.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I'll give you more. So if your preview is spot on, you don't even have to hit the exacta, just the win.
All right, we'll take you up on that. All right, thanks you guys for joining in today, and we'll talk to you some other time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.